Hi, I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is the Times Square Chronicles Presents. Today, we're with Keith Varney, who has a one-man show on autism, and he's about to tell us 10 reasons why or how he knew he had autism. Keith, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. How did you find out you had autism?
Boy, it's a really interesting story. So I about a year ago, in my 40s, a little bit out of nowhere, I discovered that I had autism through a friend of mine who sort of got his own diagnosis and was like, "Hey, you ever considered that you might be in the family?" And so that started an entire journey of figuring out. I mean, once I realized that I had it, it was more about how the heck did I not know this after all of this time and having been in therapy for 30 some odd years and being a writer who writes autobiographical material. It's like, how on earth did I not know that I was autistic? And so
More
the sh-
importantly, how did your therapist not know?
that is an excellent question that I actually talk about in the show. And so the show is structured around 10 missed clues or missed warning signs all throughout my life and my relationships and my experience that sort of try to get at the answer to the question, why didn't I know? But also, how has this shaped my entire life in ways that I had no idea?
What are some of the clues of having autism?
Well, it's a lot of um, first off, let me just say from the very beginning, I am not an expert. I am not a doctor. I have a degree in operatic singing, so take all of this with a grain of salt.
Oh, wait, yes, you are technically, because obviously the doctors didn't know. And obviously your therapist, which is a doctor, didn't know.
That's
So
true.
actually, you are more of the person to talk to because you have it.
Well, I'm certainly an expert on myself, for sure. But some of the ways that it expressed itself in me is certainly social anxiety that I've dealt with my entire life. Need for routine, need for boundaries. It's come with some upsides with some of the interests and special interests that I have and abilities that I have. Certainly, special interests are a big part of my life. If you can see behind me there, those are
Yes, Star
all
Trek.
those are all Star Trek action figures, and I don't know how on earth I could be 40 something years old with a lit bookshelf of Star Trek action figures and not have a clue that I was autistic.
Well, wait, I want to hit back at that.
Yeah, sure.
Why is having interests that started in childhood, correct?
Hmm. Yeah, oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and continued on to adulthood, why does that make you autistic?
Oh, it certainly does not. Understanding autism is a menagerie of different characteristics and ways that your brain processes things differently. It could you could have 10 different things that are exactly the same as somebody who's neurotypical and not be autistic. And so when you're looking at understanding autism, you're looking at 300, 400 different characteristics and you're building sort of a map of does this fall into this category or fall into that category. But what we do find is that having super intense special interests is very common among autistics and neurodivergence of all sorts. So one of those clues about me was realizing that I have had incredibly intense special interests all throughout my life, and that's one of many different things that helped me understand who I am.
How has being autistic, I take that back. How does knowing that you now know
Mm.
that you're autistic changed your life?
Oh, it's changed it in a lot of different ways. Let me be very clear. I am so grateful to understand this about myself. Backing up a little bit, as somebody, as I mentioned, I've been in therapy for almost 30 years, and so I've been working through all of these issues and worked through all sorts of great stuff with great therapists, but always felt like there was this missing piece, right? This missing piece of data in the code in the back of my head. And it was, experiences I couldn't quite explain, feelings I didn't understand, and it was very frustrating to not know there's this piece I'm still not quite understanding myself and why I feel the way I feel, the way I think, and the things that I want to do and don't do. And so now understanding what I have, it has changed several different things. One, it has changed my relationship with myself.
Mm.
So many of those things that I have worked so hard to hide and obfuscate and try to mask, right? That's what neurodivergents do, that I felt ashamed about. Oh, don't let people know that I'm uncomfortable in this situation. Don't let people know that I sort of need to have these clear expectations and guidelines. And so knowing that I'm autistic has freed me from feeling embarrassed about it, feeling ashamed of it, feeling like I have to hide it. And so now I can communicate to the people in my life, hey, so my brain works differently, and here's how that manifests, and here's the type of things that I can make my life a lot easier if I, do accommodate in this way. And sometimes it's using the superpowers, using the, like, okay, so there's some things I'm really, really good at, which counterbalance the stuff that I'm not good at. And so there's an internal part and there's an external part. So I can begin the process of unmasking and communicate with people how I work. And because especially high masking autism, and which is what I have, I've it's obviously I've hidden it from myself and from other people. So the accommodations aren't quite as obvious. But if it were anything else, if somebody were missing a limb, you'd be like, oh, great, here's how we can accommodate that. And so now understanding this is what I'm dealing with, I can communicate that to people. And it's really helped my relationships and my feeling about myself.
You speak in the language that I normally speak in. I also run a website called Unlocking the Keys to Healing.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Uh, but would you say, because I don't think like most people, Magda will tell you this.
That would be boring. I certainly don't either, and I never would want to.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how most people think actually.
True with that.
Nor do I mean I care, but I don't really care.
I'm with
Um,
you. I'm with you 100%.
but in what you're saying, these are things that make people people,
Hmm.
and we put labels on people such as autism when they're just people and these are their quirks.
Yes, and right.
Okay, tell me.
So everybody is physically different, right?
Right,
We all have different proportions, and so we're all people. But when you have something that is fundamentally different, like you are unable to see or you're unable to hear,
right.
yes, you are just a different type of person like everything else. But when you have a fundamental difference like that, which is not just a matter of degree,
Mhm.
right? Like, I need glasses and someone who doesn't need glasses, that is a different level of degree from someone who cannot see.
Right.
And so there's a reason why we label that, so that we can set up appropriate accommodations and not just throw it in the bucket of just like, my prescription is a little stronger than yours. It's an actual fundamental difference, which has a, um, it's not on the same track where you have a degree. It is a separate track. And I think that part of what my show was about is teaching people that, there's sort of the idea that like, oh, everyone's a little bit autistic. Well, no, they're not, because it is an actual physiological brain difference that can manifest in ways that seem like it's on the same track, but it's not really. And so by labeling it like any other difference that is, like I said, a fundamental difference and not a matter of degree, it actually is important to how you treat it. You treat it differently.
So lead me through an autistic day.
Oh, great, great question. So, for me, one of the ways that my autism shows up is I really like routine. and I get very uncomfortable when my routine is broken up. So my day today will look very different, or look very similar to the day before and the day after. So I work from home. So my day is structured. I have a segment about this in the show, right, where I get up and I drink my coffee in the exact same way, and I feed my cat the exact same way. I come down to my office and I work, my same job, and then I walk the exact same 3 mile track, and so my day is not that much different from anybody else's. But for me, I have a lot of comfort in doing things exactly the same way in routine. Ate the same basic foods over and over. I wear the same clothes, and I watch the same TV shows and movies over and over because my brain is soothed by the predictability and the routine of that. So for me, it would look exactly the same as anybody else's day on Tuesday, but you would be surprised that I'm doing the exact same thing on Friday and next Tuesday and next Friday.
What happens when the routine is shattered?
You know what? That is a challenge. My whole life I have masked my way through that, right? So I have developed really good skills at pretending that I'm fine with the changes in routine. You would never know that I was super stressed out by this new environment and these, and so, but in reality, internally, see, my brain is working much harder to process all of the new information, right? So the neurotypical brain is great at tuning out a lot of the extraneous information you don't need to know in that moment. Whether it's a sensory issue with lights or sounds, or whether it's a social issue, or knowing the expected social rules of a situation. So for me, I'm gonna do it, and I'm going to look like I'm having a normal time, but internally, my brain is working 1,000 miles a minute to process all this information and to pretend like I'm not super stressed out. And so, one of the accommodations that are good for people who are for neurodivergence is to um, give more warning with routine changes, to give a lot more information on what to expect. Where are we going to eat? Where do you park? Who else is going to be there? What are the sort of sensory issues you might come across, so that it's good for me to plan ahead and to sort of set expectations. And so I'm not walking into a room where I don't know what's expected. What are the social rules here? Who are these people? And that can be very exhausting.
So, like you're doing a Zoom today with me.
Yes,
Is that
yes.
a stressful thing because you don't do this every day in your routine?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I do podcasting and I do video shows frequently, but I do them with the exact same people in the exact same way.
Right.
So coming on and doing an interview to promote the show is stressful for me, and so I don't really know what to expect. Who am I going to talk to? What are they going to ask me? What are the vibes that are going to be? Is the tech going to work? And so there's and which is
Your
not to
tech is
say,
fabulous, may I say.
well, thank you. Well, one of the great autism benefits is I'm super nerdy, um, which is not to say that anybody wouldn't be stressed out coming into this, an environment where you're meeting a new person and you're being recorded and it's going to be on the internet. I think anybody would be stressed out by that.
What
Um,
about doing shows? Because you're now doing shows about
I,
that's not part of your routine.
it is not, yeah. Well, and that is one of the things that is difficult, but it is also, it's a push pull because I love it, right? I've done it my entire life. I'm a writer, I'm a communicator, I've been an actor for a long time. So I there's that war between my desire to do this, my love of the theater and the art form and of communicating, with the fact that I wake up and I don't have my routine and I hate it. So I mean, and again, everybody feels that. It's but for people who are neurodivergent, it's just tuned up. It's a lot louder.
So your whole life, though, is spent in this push-pull because you're a performer
Yep.
and it's never normal.
It is never normal, and that is 100% true. And I think that is it might be, I always joke that a life in the theater is a vow of poverty, right? And
Oh,
so
true. Very
you
true.
sort of you make tremendous sacrifices to do this with your life. And for a lot of people, the sacrifice might be, not being able to
Comfortable.
be able to afford things and have the normal life and have kids or whatever. For me, the sacrifice is less that. I don't care about that. It is more about the break in routine, and as I've gotten older and I've worked through it, I've found ways to build routine into this somewhat chaotic lifestyle. And I think that's one of the reasons I transitioned out of acting primarily to be a writer, because it allowed me a little bit more routine and a little bit more control over my environment and schedule.
You also do a podcast on Star Trek. Let's talk about that
I do a
because
couple
that's
of them.
actually fascinating.
Oh yeah. So yeah, talk about special interests. So
You're a Trekkie.
big time, and I have been ever since I was a little kid. My uncle worked on Next Gen and the Star Trek all the way through, so I was sort of brought into it when that began broadcasting. So I was a huge Star Trek fan my entire life, and so today I've now turned that into, I do a video podcast review of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and I have a long running YouTube series called Look at My Star Trek Toys, where I literally review the Star Trek toys I have behind me there. And so I've built this
How many are
beautiful.
there?
I'll tell you exactly. I have a joke in
Oh,
the
you
show.
know the number. What is it?
It's an autistic number. And by that, I do not mean 10 or 20 or 50. There are 309 action figures that I have deemed to be shelf worthy. And of course, I have a spreadsheet.
Wait, but you have more than, from what I'm seeing, you have more than action figures. Or
I
are
have
the spaceships considered action figures?
They are not considered action figures. They're still Star Trek toys. I have various ships and play sets and custom things that people have sent me. We've had a couple of creators. There's even an action figure of myself, which is both a narcissistic
That's cool.
fever dream, but
That's
really fun.
cool.
It's very cool.
How'd you
It's
get
very
that?
so on our Star Trek series, we have episodes about custom figures. So there's all of these creators building custom Star Trek figures all over the world. And so some of the fans of the show have created custom figures of me and my co-host.
Oh, that's lovely.
I like literally almost burst into tears when I saw it. And they're amazing. They're remarkable figures.
The reason I asked the first question way back was because my son has been into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Mm,
since day one, and he
sure.
collects them. And even now, for like Christmases and birthdays, he'll go, "Can I have this action toy?" And he's past his prime.
Hey,
But
look, I
hey, as
get it.
far as I'm concerned, it's keeping the kid inside him alive, so I'm all for it.
100%. There are such worse things I could be doing with my time and money.
Yeah. I mean, literally, I think it was last Christmas, I got him a waffle maker of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle waffles.
Oh, you wouldn't believe the Star Trek nonsense I have in all sorts of combinations. And it's fun. I mean, look, it is
I think
not
it
hurting
keeps us
anybody.
alive. I mean,
It
there was a time that I collected dragons, but
Oh, cool.
yeah, they were cool. But now I kind of got over that and yeah, no.
Well, but also I think it builds community, right?
Absolutely.
Both in the Star Trek community that we have, it's a small show, but we have a really dedicated community of people, and we all care for each other, and we're talking about our special interests in these various ways. But also in the autism community, right? So this is all new to me, and I'm learning as fast as I'm writing on TikTok, ironically, which you would not expect.
Yes, I would.
There's this beautiful community of other neurodivergent folks, autistic folks, and specifically people who have realized much later in life. And so I have an account there, and we're all talking to each other, and we're all teaching each other what we have and how it's how it's affected our lives. And so we're all kind of helping each other because a lot of the rest of the world hasn't really caught up with the type of autism that we have, and we weren't taught it as children, and our, you know, family stuff don't understand yet. So I think the community that you build,
Mm.
whether it's in Star Trek toys or Ninja Turtles or autism, I think, especially in this day and age, it's so important and been beautiful, really.
Do you feel more comfortable around autistic people or regular people? Or does it matter?
Well, that is such a good question. Um, I'm trying to figure out what the answer is. I think I am most comfortable around people that I am most familiar with,
Hmm.
that I know, right? That said, I think that neurodivergent people typically find each other, right? So as I've gone through this journey, I've kind of realized that, oh, most of the people in my life, most of my close people probably are in that
Okay.
community. And you know, some of them know it, some of them may not. And so um, does that answer the question that I am more comfortable around neurodivergence? Maybe.
What haven't I asked that you would like our audience to know about?
You know, that's a really good question. I think what I would like people to get out of this show is a um, hey, I want them to have a good time, right? It's, you know, it's mostly comedic, right? And it's a lot of embarrassing pictures of me growing
Oh,
up,
yes, please. I know. I'm
of course.
constantly revealing stuff. I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Oh, endlessly. Well, oversharing is another thing that we do. But I think that because we are in this cresting wave of autistic awakening, right? So the, you know, what we understood to be autism when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s was one small sliver of what it really is, and that culturally we haven't really caught up with this new information. And so we're like, oh, are there's all of these newly autistic people? No, they're people who have always been this way, but we our understanding of neurodivergence wasn't wide enough to accept all of us. And so ideally, what I would like to help foster is uh, helping people who may be neurodivergent, who may not be, have a more contemporary sense of what that means, a 2025 version of what autism is versus a 1985 version, and to facilitate, you know, people being able to understand and accommodate the people in their lives, but more importantly, to reach out to other people like myself who might be middle-aged and had no idea that you're hiding behind a mask, and didn't are waiting for the gift of a self-awareness of knowing what this is, so that I'm hoping to to create a welcoming space for people like me a year ago who didn't know this and can embrace this new thing.
I cannot believe we're out of time. I mean, surprisingly, because this went by fast. Can you please tell us where you're doing your show and when it plays?
Yes. So the show is on Tuesday, November 4th at Theater Row in New York City on 42nd Street. It is a 7 o'clock show. You can get tickets at autisticshow.com or right at the Theater Row box office. You can find out all about the show and anything else is upcoming on autisticshow.com or on my website, keithvarneywriter.com.
Keith, thank you for being with me. This has seriously been a pleasure. It's been the fastest interview I think I've ever done.
Well, I'm so grateful to be here. This has been a delight.